just to fill everybody in that's listening, this podcast is going to be a little bit of everything: shit talking, to serious conversations like we are with Mike right now, to just another day at Tops, I guess. It's going to bounce around, so for sure people are going to have to wear earmuffs. Whoever don't want to hear Jesus and Craig cussing, but
yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
I'll try to watch.
You know how bad we are. Terrible.
Yeah, and this.
I'm rather surprised to hear any cussing coming from our choir boy, Jesus.
Balance and everything, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, everyone, welcome to Tops Daily Grind. This is episode number 69, and we have a super special guest today. We're all being like fanboys over here.
Just you.
And well, okay, it was just me, but I was trying to spread the love a little bit. Anyway, Mr. Ed Calderon, thank you for being here.
What's up, dude?
Thank you. It was a long time. It was a long time coming. Every podcast we do, we sort of throw out like it's coming, and it's a couple days or a couple weeks out, and finally we got him here.
It's pretty cool to be on Surreal. I remember during the COVID epidemic, you guys shared my hobo
hand sanitizer.
Yes, I watched it.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, wow, cool that you share it. That's what the information's for. And I was like, and then I just sat through the whole podcast, which is pretty great.
That's awesome. One of the first things we did was make that.
Yeah, when Craig made that, they didn't really. Did you guys post where he fucking splattered all over his face?
Yes, they did.
Oh, that was a blooper.
Yeah,
so when he was making it and you're supposed to shake it, he didn't completely close it, so it was just like.
Yeah, the first shake he went
all over me.
It went all over his face.
I mean, alcohol's alcohol,
Yeah.
So I was clean at least. That's that's a thing.
Yeah.
Again, thank you guys for having me on and inviting me out here. First time I've been out this part of the country, which is like a rarity because I usually travel across the country. Like there's very few states that I haven't been to. This is one of them.
Really? Is this your first time in Idaho?
Yeah, first time in Idaho. Idaho Falls with only 15 working Uber drivers and 5 or 2 at any given time, which is pretty great.
In the entire city.
We should start doing that part-time just to raise a little extra capital.
If anybody's out there that wants to get an Uber gig, Idaho Falls apparently is the place. There's no Uber drivers here.
Everybody's working.
There's no taxis either.
Tomorrow there's more.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
So how hectic is your schedule? Because I know you went to Blade and
It's funny
unannounced, and then
I thought he went to Blade and then he came over here. But he was like, "Oh no, I was here, and then I came over here."
I was in before I went to Blade for a single day. I was in West Virginia doing a class for DHS people, basically showing them what ways there are to escape the restraints that they commonly place on people. Which I still
he showed up. Yeah, look, he showed up with freaking.
I still have some of the aftermath of me showing and not telling people how that's done. I do classes across the country most weekends. The public classes and some of the stuff I do for government agencies and private entities. And I just travel around doing classes. That's like because I should have gone to school, I guess. Most of the stuff that I know how to do, it's kind of hard to show digitally or in a book format or something like that. So I've been basically being a one-man donkey show traveling across the country for about. I think I'm going to reach the 4-year mark as far as me doing this nonstop traveling.
How many classes do you think you're doing a year?
I mean, I do 2 or 3 ones a month.
Fuck.
So.
And you offer different types of classes too, huh?
It's specifically I focus on showing people how to go into a place that's unfriendly to your presence, and if you may run into getting tied up and or arrested somewhere unlawfully. So I go into the whole counter abduction, counter custody training for people, not just getting out of it, but also not being in the space that you are, could be held victim or be captured, right? So I go into the whole process of how some of these things work, based on my experience working against some of the best abduction groups on the planet. That I got to arrest and debrief and interrogate and see how some of these people set up their business. So I got to have a first-hand look at how some of them operate. And mind you, it's not just hey, yeah, do you show people how to get out of the cartel's hands and stuff like that? A lot of the material and a lot of the stuff that I'm currently working on, and kind of because I'm always revamping the material, home invasions, people involved in sex slavery and sex trafficking, human trafficking, narcotics being utilized as a restraining element. Everybody assumes that you're going to get zip tied or handcuffed, and nobody knows how to flush their system if they get exposed to something like fentanyl or some opiate. All of that kind of gets put into an exposition and basically a show and tell and a learning environment, and that's some of the classes are kind of based on that specifically. And then I focus on showing people how to be free. That's, I think, at the core of everything I show people. It's just how to be free, either by not getting into restraints or learning how to get out of them, even if they are placed on by somebody that knows what they're doing. To arming themselves with whatever you can find. I think there's a freedom in being armed that not a lot of people kind of understand. I am very pro Second Amendment, but I'm also very, I understand what a country without that privilege is like, and where people have to arm themselves with whatever they can, from homemade, pistolas to cutlery from a certain brand.
Or a spike, you find them. So we went to show them the little shop yesterday, and I come out. I was locking up, and I come out, and they're like, "Here's my shank."
I found a shank already.
He already had one in his
You
hand.
made like 6 shanks as you were showing them.
No, there was like this little rusty pointed piece of metal he picked up. He's like, "Yep, got my shank already."
So since you fly a lot, do you usually, like, wherever you go, just to be safe?
It's not even about being safe. It's about just having the means and ability.
Putting the odds in your favor, you can say.
There's a responsibility that we have as men and as women, if you are a father or if you're a mother, to keep those around us safe.
Yes.
And to be able to respond. Maybe I went through too much in my short life that has made me turn that more into an exaggeration in my own kind of way of going about life. But I am, the first time I ever saw anybody stabbed, it was my mom stabbing a dude in a parking lot that was harassing one of my cousins, right? Mm-hmm. And she did it without flinching, without stopping to consider the repercussions of her action. She was a female with 2 kids, and she was it. She was she was a first responder. She was the police. She was the guardian. She was everything. And she took out her potato peeler, and 2 older males were harassing my cousin. And she went from 0 to 100 in that moment, and took out her knife, hid it underneath her index finger, and poked one of the guys in the chest and told him to back off. And
So
I was I don't know, 6 or 7 or something like that. Looked up at my mom's, like, I didn't realize what happened, and started seeing this guy's just some of the blood coming out of that small poke he gave him. The guy didn't die obviously, but it was a clear message. And in an environment like Mexico, seeing that is a woman, esa es una señora, that's a mother, right? Going from that to coming to this country, and getting the police called over somebody pulling out a knife to open up a box at a Starbucks, right? Or having people arguing about is a knife clip considered open carry or not, and what length of a blade should be legal or illegal. What's lethal or butterfly knives being illegal when they're really the worst tool. If you want a weapon to kill somebody, a knife-wise, a butter knife is one of the lowest on the list, right? But somehow it's demonized, and people are, that's a weapon, it's evil. Going from a place where people carry knives as tools and are able to respond in an event like that, like example of my mother, to a place where it's like, oh, and I'm not saying all the U.S. is the same, but again, I travel a lot, and a lot of places are like this. And also, I mean, if you want to travel this great country via airplane, you're going to have to check that stuff, and or you're going to have to review knife laws and stuff like that where you're going, which are not all the
Gun
same.
laws, we have to do that all the time when we travel.
Yeah. So it's amazing to me in a country that talks about freedom and stuff like that, how some of that stuff
Limited you can be.
some of that stuff. And again, a big part of the training I do for people is to liberate their mindset as far as you can be armed anywhere.
Yeah.
And that goes the same for the bad people and or the people that might face you.
Because they'll be armed for sure.
They'll be armed for sure,
Yeah.
and they know well enough that not allowed to and not able to are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And most of us swallowed the "I'm not allowed to" pill long ago. I didn't, and I still refuse to. But if I can, one of the things I try and provide in some of these classes, like the weaponology class, is just to teach people what is possible with just what's around you and what you can make, and to just realize that all of us have an inherent freedom in having the means and ability to defend yourself and your loved ones. Yeah, that should be an internationally protected human right. It isn't, but that doesn't mean you can't practice it every day. From picking up a piece of steel on the ground and just knowing that is capable of doing something, to recognizing that activity in somebody else that might be a threat to you. A lot of people like talking about sheepdogs. You have to be a sheepdog, Ed. Watch out for the flock. Sheepdogs get eaten where I'm from. You want to be a coyote or a wolf? That's what you want to be. That's what your mindset you want to be. There's a wild pack of coyotes living in Central Park in New York.
Really?
Yeah. It's
I didn't
weird.
know that.
Wild, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I want to be. Something unexpected, something that survives, something that adapts. I don't want to be a sheepdog. The sheepdog gets eaten by a pack of wolves. Right?
True.
So as far as mindset, I'm trying to remind, some people up here that might have not realized this in their history or they're kind of separated from that history. You guys were hood rats since you started. The U.S. was hood rat. Fucking colonials, fucking hood rat people, fucking just hunting rifles, shooting from the trees to a group of people representing a crown. That armed people that didn't have permits for their shit, that didn't have capacity, they didn't have any. That musket is only for law enforcement. That is your history, and that is what made your country amazing, great, great experiment, and it got lost along the way, right? Yeah. So a lot of these classes are just a reminder that you're not restricted, that you have the capability and the freedom and responsibility that comes with that knowledge.
Yeah, because living here, obviously, we're a little bit more sheltered than living in Mexico. Like, for example, me as a Hispanic, I hear the stories from my parents, like all the stuff that they had to go through. But living here, you don't even think about that stuff.
It's amazing to me. Like, I'm 5 years into the American dream now, and it is a dream, and but it does come to reality. I came here with nothing. Literally came here with nothing but hope. A hope for a better life for myself, and a hope for a better life to a family that I have, right? And that's it. Nothing else. And I got to see California when it went through the first round of restrictions for firearms, as far as the California compliant rifles and and stuff like that, and bullet buttons and stuff like that. I got to see that shift as an immigrant, as a new immigrant, being here, and then just telling them, it's funny to me now that you have those restrictions on your rifles, but you can go across the border to Tijuana and black market. You can buy whatever you want, and you can buy the ammo even cheaper. Now with the ammo shortages, you can buy ammo cheaper down there. Which is pretty interesting. And that's not doing anything realistically. I find myself with more in common with immigrants than some of the second or first or second, third generation Latinos sometimes in communities that, for some reason, kind of lost the idea or the know-how of why their abuelo used to carry a knife,
Yeah.
or why their You know, why their deals used to take out a 38 special and just shoot it up into the air every now and then on, you know, whatever Mexican holiday you want, and what that meant, and why carrying a gun is it was like an essential item in some places where some of these people come from, and how they come here and they try and, you know, celebrate that freedom like I do, you know, and it gets lost with the further generations, you know.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
definitely.
not always, sometimes, you know. They lose sight of what hunger is. They lose sight of what desperation is sometimes, and they lose sight of the struggle. Like why? What pushed somebody to cross a desert? You know, what pushed somebody into just jumping over a fence, and or, you know, that time was more of a barbed wire fence in the past.
Yeah.
Or what made people go through the process legally of immigration? I went through it legally, and I can tell you this: it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's very hard.
It's not
And
easy.
It takes a lot of time.
Takes a lot of time. It's it is embarrassing. They look through your shit, you know. They question things, things that are true. And if I question your relationship to you know, a girlfriend, or to your wife or girlfriend or something like that, I questioned it, you know. Oh, I don't think it's real.
Yeah.
You would be infuriated and insulted.
Definitely.
But, you know, the immigration process is hard, what they are, and it's worth it, though, you know. But the amount, the struggle to get here, right? And then you get here, and, you know, the hunger is lost, the desperation is sometimes lost, and, you know, I think it's the fault of us as, you know, newly being in this country, not, I don't know, maybe not reminding, you know, our you know, offspring what happened to get us here, you know. But it's interesting. A lot of the static I get after doing interviews, after doing a podcast, after writing and stuff like that, a lot of the static I get is usually from Latino communities in the States.
Yeah, that phrase that you say, that there's no worse. What was it?
There's no the worst enemy of a Mexican is another Mexican.
Yeah,
You know,
and you see that especially when you work in like warehouses or fields and stuff. It's always the Hispanics that are shitting on the other Hispanic.
Yeah.
To get where you're like, you're working in these like really shitty conditions, and you're shitting on the other guy because you want to make like 10 cents more than him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I posted a pro Second Amendment thing on my Instagram account today. I read through the comments. It's mostly Latinos or some of the people that like calling themselves Latinx people, which is, I don't know what that's about, but you guys can explain what that is to me later on. But most of the people, the simple thing I said is this: when bad people come knocking at your door and ask for the prettiest of your daughters to take to a party, do you want to be the guy in that conversation without a gun? And read through the comments. Well, that's outlandish. That doesn't happen here. And it's like, Arizona is the abduction capital of the United States, and I deal with federal law enforcement. I deal with state, and I get to hear all the stories, and I'm the guy to go to for this type of training. So, yes, it happens here too. And then you go into a lot of the comments and like, oh, I mean, my father is from there. It's not that bad. You know, it's like, wait, I've been down there. Do you go down there for Christmas? You know, to visit la tía or la abuela in the rancho, or do you, or are you from there? Because I've been to some of these communities. I've worked in some of these communities, and I found guns in communities, in vehicles, in houses of people that are desperate, and I left the gun there.
Yeah.
And I can talk about it now because I'm out. Mm-hmm. Every now and then I would find this fucking community out there somewhere, and his father with this old-timey fucking German Mauser pistol or something like that, or a rusty Remington 22.
22s and shotguns were the things that you would find back in the day that the old timers had. Yeah.
38 Supers, Colt 45 Gold Cups. You find these, and like they're wrapped in a cloth somewhere. And I find it, and like, hey, I found this gun. And I'm like, hey, dude, unload it, oil it, and keep it here because you have kids. Yeah. But I was a cop down there, and I was like, "Oh, you got a gun? Yeah, good. You want bullets?" You know,
Yeah.
it has absolutely nothing to do with the legalities of it. It's the humanity in it.
Yeah.
These people are desperate. I was in law enforcement down there. I knew well enough that we can be there for them. You know, if something bad happened, because we were outnumbered. You know, also we were the bad guys in a lot of these communities' minds as well. And so you talk about this pro Second Amendment thing on my Instagram account, and the shit that I get in there, which is fine. I get it. I understand. It's a privilege to complain about guns. It's a privilege to complain about shit like that. It is a privilege, and I'm glad these people have that privilege to complain about it. But trust me, somewhere in the night, somebody knocks on your door, and there's a bunch of dudes armed outside. Trust me, you would want to have a firearm with you. Hey, Ed, are you going to kill all these people with a gun? No.
Yes, I can.
Maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but there's nothing wrong with retribution. And if I can take a few of them with me, you know, or you can go the opposite side of it and not be armed and just put your kids on the street already. So, that's the mindset that I'm trying to kind of communicate with that statement. And again, no hay peor enemigo para un mexicano que otro mexicano, and I see that, in the community sometimes.
Yeah, it's sad because you're trying to do the best for your family as well, and getting that negative feedback when you're trying to do your best, especially to, like, for example, you're doing your part to help educate people and help.
Yeah.
Like, that's the last thing you should be hearing.
Well, I'm trying to do my best to just wake people up to the reality that is out there. Most people don't know that you've seen those videos of the cartel guys with the armored vehicles and gente del Mencho guys with all the tactical gear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most people think that's southern Mexico. That's on the border right now.
That's on your borders, yeah.
That is Mexicali right now. There's Cartel de Jalisco commando units rolling in Mexicali right now. They're getting closer to places like Tijuana. They're being that overt with their presence. There's full-on narco insurgency, narco guerrilla shit happening right on the border and in the United States, and they're doing cross-border work constantly. If you don't believe me, talk to people that work in Customs and Border Patrol. Those guys see things firsthand. And ask them if they feel confident as far as their ability to contain something like that, right? And all I'm doing is just, pointing to something. Look at what's happening. Look at what happened down there. It could never happen here in the States.
They take guns and shit away. It's going to happen sooner
Real
than later.
fast.
Guaranteed.
This is how it went down in Mexico. Disarmament. There used to be gun stores in Mexico. You can buy. My abuelo had a gun that he bought at a store. 60s and 70s.
Really?
And the main reason that happened is that there was a bunch of communist weird shit happening in Mexico during the 60s, and that led to a major killing of students somewhere in Mexico City in 68 in a place in a square called Tlatelolco. The center, the hub for communist spies in Latin America was Mexico City, right? So that led to the government being worried about people arming themselves and starting weird revolutionary groups, which led them to create a national federal firearms law, a single blanket law that would limit what you can have and limit who could buy it, where you can buy it, what type of calibers you can use. You can have, so according to the Mexican Constitution, you can have a gun for home defense, but it doesn't say anything about where you're going to buy it. And it doesn't say anything about the bullets, and it doesn't say anything about how you're going to train with it to be safe. It doesn't say anything about that. And carrying it around is not a possibility unless you know somebody. So along the lines of that, the government didn't want people to be armed because if you're afraid of your people, the first thing you do is take away their guns, right? So that was in the 60s, 70s. It started kind of getting smaller and smaller. Weapons were vilified. The only ones who have guns are the army and the police, and that led into a weird corrosion of just gun culture. There used to be a bunch of sports related stuff around guns, hunting and stuff like that was common, and it slowly became prohibited for anybody that didn't have the means to buy a firearm legally, to sustain that firearm with ammunition, and to go to a shooting range to shoot. So right now there's a single store that sells firearms in Mexico.
Mexico City, no?
In Mexico City.
Simon.
So talk to Pedro or Juanita that lives in Matamoros, and her house is made out of plywood, and she has a roof made out of blue tarp that she probably stole from a roadside political campaign ad or something. And she lives in a community that has one of the largest murder rates on the planet. Constitution says that she can have a gun for home defense. But she can't afford a roof on her house. How is she going to afford to fly to Mexico City to buy an overly overpriced fucking pistol that's limited in the rounds that it can take? Because you can't have 9mm down there. You have to have 380 or something like that, right? Small calibers. Yep. So now Juanita somehow made it all the way down there, and she bought her gun, uber expensive, and she bought her allotment of rounds. Now she has to fly back, right?
Oh shit, that's not gonna happen.
So now she has to fly back with it, with all this paperwork, right? Also, a lot of these marginalized communities, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, and maybe Juanita, which is a fictional character, she might be illiterate, so that some of this processes and paperwork might be a hassle, and it's a lot of paperwork. She goes back to where she's from. Where's she going to practice with that firearm?
With her 7 bullets or whatever it is.
The only way you can do that is if you're part of a shooting club, and it's cost prohibitive to anybody that isn't a middle class or upper middle class member of the Mexican society. So, who is that blanket federal firearms law benefiting? The military, the army, who has a monopoly over who gets what, and they have a monopoly over selling rounds. So that's why they're in control of that shit, and also it's a source of power. So if you're armed down there, it's a source of power. And who gets benefited by that? Well, I mean, the cartels prey on people that are unarmed, and the military and police are the ones that are armed legally and lawfully down there. So, and they work against the cartels, and sometimes they work against some of the communities around the cartels. You can go into a town where the state police are working for one cartel, the municipal police are working for another, and the military is working for a completely other cartel. And the people in the middle can't buy a gun. So that seems far, though. It seems far. It used to seem far. And then
It sounds a lot like California.
Well, it sounds a lot like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
We've been going through a midnight of the soul here in the United States. COVID, which came from China. You could say it.
Oh, of course.
Came from China. Came from a laboratory. Taiwan is a country.
Thank you.
You go through that, and then you go upheaval. Black Lives Matter against it. Everyone I've gone to in the country, recruitment for police forces is down. Standards are lowered, and there are places in this country during the epidemic and during some of the protests and stuff like that, like Portland, where there were no police to respond to emergencies. You could chop somebody's head off in the middle of the road, and it would call the cops, and you would get a busy signal. The corrosion is here, and it's happening. If you see things in Mexico and say, "Oh, it'll never be that worse over here."
That's what we were saying with the fucking virus. At least I was. When you see the virus happening in fucking China, you see that, you're like, "Fuck, they're getting fucked over there," and then boom, and it starts hitting here, and then it just closes down.
Yeah, and it's a wake up. It should be a wake up call.
Yeah,
I don't see it as. I don't see that people are treating it as that.
It's like we woke up and then it's getting better.
Ask me if you heard this one before. Hey, dude, can I borrow a gun when COVID hit? Can I borrow a gun? Do you have any rounds?
It's a round one.
The rounds, yes.
Yeah.
Borrowing a gun in Idaho is everybody's got guns.
Well, in places like California, that was like a common theme, and people from California can check me on this. But in other parts where are really restricted, like, hey, you're a gun guy, right? What can I buy, and can I borrow one? That was the fear. I was in LA for part of so when COVID hit, I never stopped working. Like it actually kicked up for me as far as consulting for people, setting up COVID centers on the border, like doing classes, training people, just traveling around, going to some of the hotspots to see what was going on, just for my own.
You were down in Portland too for a while.
I was down in Portland for the day 101 of the protest, Atlanta for the riots as well. I was actually doing a class there, and the guy hosting it said, hey, Atlanta's on fire. We probably should call this off. And I was like, no, it's a good backdrop.
This is
It's better.
It's a good backdrop. And also, if you think this is the end of the world, like I got news for you. The world's ended for me a few times, and this is not
nothing.
the end. Yeah. But that line of people at a gun store in LA, and just a reminder: if you bought a gun for the first time during the COVID epidemic, remember that shit when you need to vote. Just remember that fucking fear. You remember that helplessness, and remember seeing just people walk into pharmacies and just clean everything out, and nobody responding to it. In some parts in LA and California. That is insane. That is insane. Psychiatric shit. You can see it. People saying, ban guns, and then COVID hits and everybody's buying a gun. It's interest. Yeah. That's an interesting kind of like a lesson or snapshot of America as it is right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that on paper look good or on paper work, but in practice, obviously they don't. Just because you've seen the effects of certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I know exactly where it's going to go up here, but I've heard parts of this song before.
Yeah.
And this is never going to happen here. Is one that I hear it constantly, or it's not that bad here, or we'll never get that bad because we have this, we have that, we have this. I mean, you had that. You had this. You had confidence in law enforcement in the United States. That's why corruption wasn't as prevalent as it is in Mexico. You had that, but you don't anymore.
Yeah.
Go to any school, go to any university, and talk about police and talk about Blue Lives Matter, or wear a Blue Lives Matter T-shirt in California, and just wait for the conversations to start. And then on the other side of it, not to make it political or anything like that. People in this country talking about slavery and how that's in our past. Mm-hmm. During COVID, there were no shortages of produce in any supermarket aisle, which means that illegal immigrants are essential workers.
Oh yeah.
And Governor Newsom in California never closed his winery during COVID.
Of course not.
So, and a lot of these people working in those fields illegally are paying off their coyote, or the people that cross them still, because they have a debt, because some of these people don't have full price to pay. You'll see them with little straps on their wrists sometimes when they cross the border, some red, some green. The green ones are people that paid in full, the red ones are still people that owe.
Really?
They're basically slaves.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, it's out there, right? Jeez. So as far as a weird divide in this country and how mindsets are, and some of the shit that I say and the amount of shit that I get into because of some of the shit that I say, it's as clear as day to somebody like me that went through it down there where it's out in the open. But over here, it's not. It's also in the open, but it's just not talked about.
Yeah, it seems like nobody
and people
cares.
don't bring it up. They don't bring it up because they don't want to. They don't want that.
They don't have to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Or either you're on that side or this side, right? Yeah. So like I get the whole Ed. What do you think about Trump? And I was like, I mean, he said some really, really horrible shit, and he did some other things that might have been beneficial. But I can't vote, I'm a legal immigrant in this country, but I am a permanent resident, not a citizen.
Not a citizen.
And I don't have the luxury to give an opinion as far as with my vote here. Both sides seem conflicted, and both sides seem pretty bad, right?
Yeah,
on my end. So
this is what I always tell Craig. It's like, why can't people just focus on that specific issue and then Well,
I focus on why I came here.
Yeah.
I want personal responsibility if I can, as far as the ability to have a gun. That would be great for me, have a firearm, and also want the ability to seek a better life for myself, and opportunities, and I have it here. I also came here to work. What do you think was the first thing that got handed to me outside of the immigration office when I got my green card?
No idea.
Paperwork, so I can get free money and free shit. That was the first thing that got handed to me. Like, oh, this you can apply for this, you can apply for this, you can apply for that. I mean, I just wanted to work.
Yeah.
That was my whole thing. That was the first thing I was kind of like, that was slid over to me. This is what you need, right? Luckily, I was surrounded by some pretty amazing Americans, some pretty great patriots that fucking showed me the way, and I worked my way through. But not everybody has that, though.
Yeah.
And again, politics wise, I want to be able to smoke a joint at my gay best friend's wedding, and have a gun on me, and it's fine. That's probably the dream, at some point somewhere, and I just want to be allowed to be able to figure out my way, right? As long as I'm not fucking with anybody, as long as I'm not affecting any other interest, as long as I could go to Utah and talk to some of my Mormon friends, and they're great, they're fine. I won't impose anything on them. They won't impose anything on me. And then I go fly across the country, and I go into a church where everybody's dancing with poisonous snakes to prove their faith in the Lord. Beautiful. That's exotic to a Mexican like me,
Yeah.
And then I go to California and go to LA and just go through a post-apocalyptic scenario outside of the place where we make our clothing line, and just see the bum wars out there, and the cops basically just standing to the side, and seeing businesses that have been paid with sweat and tears by immigrants like me, or people that have been in this country for longer, just having their businesses just catch on fire because of the homeless guys outside decided to set a can full of shit on fire in front of their property. Right? That's me. That's me with the apocalypse sign, just moving around. It's like, hey dude, fucking what's going on?
Yeah. That's insane. That, like, one of the things that I noticed too is that, like, a lot of everybody's, that's what they want. That's their core value. They just want to be happy, be able to take care of their families, but there's no reason for that divide. There shouldn't be anyway.
I think the divide comes when it comes to personal responsibility. That's what people avoid. That's the
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want a business. Okay, what government subsidies are there? Help me get it started. Like, nah, dude. Yeah, fucking start.
That's
Just started.
Get to working, right? Or, hey, I'm an American. I deserve this. I deserve that. No.
That's not
You should
how it works.
work. Work. Or thing I also run into a lot here in the, and I ask people a lot. Ed, what would you advise to expose my kids to so they can have a better understanding? Travel. Just see how the other side, the other half works.
Yeah.
Travel to places where things are worse than here, and also to places where things are better than here, because that's a thing that also Americans struggle with. There are places in the world that have better things than the United States. People have never been to China, and people never traveled to some of their cities, some of the major metropolitan areas they have, and see some of the advancements they have. See all the electric vehicles rolling around and fucking robots delivering shit and stuff like that. If you think we're at the tip of the spear when it comes to technology here in the United States, I got fucking news for you.
Yeah,
guys.
we're a little behind.
It's like going to fucking Wakanda. It's like.
Where have you seen the best technology?
I mean, it's not that I've seen the best technology. It's that just well aware that there are places in this world that are leaps and bounds. Technology, quality of life wise than a lot of parts here in the United States, and people that think that America's number one and they're the best at every field are living in the 80s, man. They're living in that. they're living in that Rocky movie where this Italian dude beat the shit out of this Russian that was completely filled with steroids, which would never happen probably, but they're still living that weird dream, right? And it's not to shit on the U.S. It's to wake the U.S. up to, hey, like we dropped the ball at some point. Let's get back to fucking sending people to the moon. We have to hitch a ride with other countries to get to the space station right now, you know?
Yeah, ever since they retired the shuttle.
Yeah.
Well, now Musk is taking people, but starting to anyway. But
So
getting there.
it's slowly.
And you want to cancel Musk.
Because he said something about Bitcoin.
Yeah, you want to cancel. Society wants to cancel him, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of examples like that. I remember the U.S. in the '80s. I was born in '82, and we would go grocery shopping sometimes when I was a kid in San Diego, for example. And I got to see the U.S. in the '80s. You know, the big malls. You know, the stocked aisles. The stocked aisles thing is pretty interesting. So I got to see supply chain break down in this country over the past 4 or 5 years, and how things are not available. You know, the ammo shortages are one thing. You know, that they might be, you know, man-made or kind of influenced by just fear or something, or just, you know, again, supply chain. But just seeing infrastructure deteriorate. And having some weird like stuff that not even Mexico you'll see, you know. Go to L.A. Go to the fucking, you know, Skid Row, L.A. I'm from Tijuana, you know. I see some shit.
Yeah.
But even I washed my hands when I got out of that fucking. You know? It's mind blowing.
Yeah, we were down there in November, huh? Was it November?
November.
Yeah, and the Barney, the gentleman that took us through there, man, fuck that.
Yeah,
And we didn't get out and walk. We just drove through, and it
Yeah.
was bad enough. Just seeing how insane it was.
Yeah.
Do they mess with the tourists?
With anybody, I guess, that walks by him.
Yeah. They're entitled to their sidewalk. They're entitled to use it as a toilet. They're entitled to burn everything if they want to. They're entitled. You know, that's the thing. You know, they're entitled to. So again, and I speak as a business owner. I'm not speaking as an immigrant that just is looking at it, or as an activist that's just looking. No, I'm a business owner that's directly affected because they are camping outside of a place where we manufacture our stuff, and we're trying to another thing. I'm trying to manufacture my clothing and some of the products that we put out there in the U.S., which is,
How's that going?
it's not easy.
Yep.
You know, it's not easy. It's not easy at all, and the government doesn't make it easy. So, and I have
How does the government make it hard?
I have to basically bribe some of the people that live outside of that place to not burn the place.
Oh, okay.
I have to ask somebody to ask the king of the hobos to clear the entryway there. You ask one of those guys, hey, want to clean up here the area here? I'll give you $20. Give me 100.
Yeah, definitely.
And why would they want to work for that when they're getting government money? A lot of these guys are living on government checks. A lot of them have cell phones, smartphones that are, you know, that are paid for by who knows who, you know. But they're running their shit, you know. They have open Wi-Fi in some of these places. A few clothing and survival gear companies that are very woke will go around and give out things like sleeping bags, camping tents, and shit like that for free there. And they basically sustain. They just sustain, you know. People want to be altruistic and support people like that and have a soup kitchen, which is, I'm all about that. I grew up Catholic. My mom would take me to feed the homeless and destitute in Tijuana. The truly fucking poor.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about poverty, I don't think the United States has known poverty, really, you know. The homeless people where I'm from are skinny, and they don't have smartphones, and they don't get free shit from survival and tactical and survival companies that give them out sleeping bags and shit like that. That's not what happens down there. So I've seen that. I understand. That some of these people suffer from substance abuse issues, psychiatric issues. But you don't solve that problem by putting fucking gas into the fire, right? And again, as a business owner, as somebody that has a vested interest in making shit and trying to keep things made in America, and as an immigrant, I'm trying to get shit started and employing people and figuring shit out, supporting small companies, you know?
Yeah.
And I have to pay it the king of the hobos to just fucking, clear out a space and get my car through, right?
Yeah, that's infuriating though. Like, for example, even here, you don't see obviously that many, but when you do, you see these able-bodied people that are perfectly capable of working, just asking for handouts. And that, as somebody whose parents came here, not knowing the language and somehow making it's infuriating just because they know the language and they can walk, they have hands, and it just...
Yeah, I mean, the whole able body thing. Every now and then I get looks, like I do classes all over the country, and I arrive early and if I can set shit up, I take the time to talk to people, from the guy that opens a door to the head of the company. That's not just because of where I'm from, but because my mother was militantly fucking strict and Catholic and would slap the back of my head if I didn't hold the door open for a woman, or if I didn't say good morning, good afternoon to somebody that is even just in the environment and he's a human being and I just make contact, right? I came up with that, and coming up here and getting some looks or like, hey, no, you don't need to do that. You need to sweep up after, or those guys are, don't or don't open a door for somebody. Because that's toxic masculinity. Or you want to talk about some of the most scary shit that I've seen in the U.S. during my travels, as far as what people think, or what people express as far as their viewpoints. And I've been through some weird places. I've been Tennessee where people dance with poisonous snakes somewhere, which is great. I mean, to me, it's like that. Yeah. I'm a tourist here, so like that's where I wanted to go see, right? I've seen some weird stuff and weird ideas and people with weird, beliefs and stuff like that, which is fine. I'm all about it, But when you go to universities and people are trying to tell me what Mexico's reality is when they've not even been to Mexico or they've only been to Cancun, or people that wearing Che Guevara T-shirts, walking down a university campus and expounding the values of socialism and stuff like that. It's like I know people that I got to know and train with people that were part of that fucking revolution in Mexico. And they'll tell you the first thing they did was take out all the homosexuals, march them up and down the street, humiliate them, and beat the shit out of some of them and execute some of them. Yeah. And that's the woke culture here in the States. Che Guevara, Ed, don't demonize these. They themselves, like if people want, I'll take you down, and you sit down and have a conversation with some of these people. They're not expats. They're not people that fled Cuba. They're people that are living in Mexico right now. They're retirement from the Cuban army, and they'll talk about some of the shit that went on. It's like, yeah, I don't know what these people that have rainbow hair in California are talking about when they talk about Che Guevara being a freedom fighter. He was all about spreading, the revolution and control. That's what he was about. And it's interesting seeing some of those T-shirts next to a gay pride flag. That's interesting to me. It's like
very contradictory.
Yeah.
That's insane. All right, so
I thought Craig left.
How soon after you got out of the police force down there did you get into the U.S.? Was that like right away?
I resigned. I resigned in the afternoon, and I was in the truck with my stuff crossing that same day.
So that's something that I've often wondered. Like,
it was urgent.
Yeah, I mean, you were in constant danger, right? It's just having that job.
Yeah,
always in danger.
According to MetLife at some point, because MetLife was the one that ran our life insurance policy. It was one of the most, if not the most dangerous jobs on the planet, just by the numbers.
Jesus.
Working in that field, in that place, Mind you, Tijuana was the most dangerous city on the planet when I was working in the state of Baja, and a lot of the work I did was in Tijuana to try and pacify it. It was the most dangerous city on the planet, you know. But it's like the middle of a tornado or a hurricane, you know, the eye of it. You're in there, and it's like, I don't know what people are fucking, you know, yelling about until you try and walk out of it. You see just the cows flying around and shit, right? You're not too conscientious about it until you meet people from other walks of life and other conflicts. You know, you don't understand how not normal your reality is. You know, we were a part of a group that went to get training from members of NSW and NCIS in Coronado back in the day. They were kind enough to show us some of what they know, right? And it was a pretty big deal for us to get that access and just training. We were hungry for it, knowledge. We were just fighting for our lives. We didn't know what a tourniquet was for a long time, and we were fighting for our lives down there, right? The first tourniquets that you saw down there, our group had them, right? And it's because we were exposed to people coming back from Afghanistan, coming back from Iraq, and they were showing us some of the lessons that they learned out there. We had more in common with them than any single member of law enforcement on the American side that we were talking to, as far as how they would police a community or how they would, you know, do their job. Then it's that moment that you realize we have more in common with the guys coming back from a war zone. So we're in a war. Just nobody wants to call it a war, but it's a war. That was when I kind of started realizing, you know, I've been in rooms with people that have been to like multiple combat deployments and been into other countries and invaded and done all that stuff, and he was like, "Where were you at?" "Oh, I worked in Mexico." The whole room just kind of turns back at me like, "What's up?
Just wait.
What's up with this fucker?" We had moments like that when I was active, and I still have moments like that when I'm invited as an instructor or stuff like that with other instructors, and I talk about, you know, he was multiple deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq. You know, this guy was here. This guy's an Israeli guy that did this in Israel, and this guy, oh, he's from Mexico.
How would you turn it off? Like, you said it was the most dangerous city, right? How would you like go home? Like, how would you be?
There's no going home.
You're always
hotel rooms, houses that we would rent, stayed in military barracks, rental properties every now and then. There's no going home, you know. Male strippers would, be more likely to tell their family what they did for a living than us, a few things about being in the line of work that I don't know if it's still true to this day, but when I went in, you got a gun and 2 magazines for it. I was trained with a Beretta 92 FS pistol. And when I graduated, they gave me a Glock. And I had to go on YouTube to learn how to use it. Fuck. I got a second chance soft armor set. And that's it. I had an AR-15, a 9mm AR-15 with 2 magazines. This is me just coming out to the street working. I got an AR-15, a 9mm AR-15 with 2 magazines and no bullets.
Putting you out on the street with somebody fucking with a 50 cal on the back of their Jeep.
I got my wages were paid through a debit card. And I was like, well, I'm getting paid. Let me get a credit card. Let me get a line of credit. Oh, yeah. What do you do? No credit for you.
You don't qualify.
Fuck.
He's high risk.
All the time. I could never qualify for any housing and or just personal credit in Mexico. So that is basically an impossible fucking situation to be in. And that's a start. That's when you start. There you go. This is the start. you try and do everything by the book. You try and fucking figure out shit and not get into trouble. I remember like one of the first fucking places we hit way back when, going into a room and having one of the older guys do this. He found like a weapons cache somewhere. So picks up this plate armor, puts it on, and picks up another one and puts it on me. Right? And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, you have plate armor now. You know? It's like, well, are we allowed to do this?
Yeah.
You know? What does it say we can't? It's like, oh, okay. I guess I have plate armor now, right? And then going downstairs and seeing the army guys that were with us for the raid having dinner at this cartel house, eating canned abalone that they found in one of the cupboards, and just opening a chair for me, like, and I'm like, where the fuck am I? You know, that's a start. You know, that's a start. You know, and you don't go home. You know, you don't really go home. I spent I think 3 or 4 years without vacation. Not like no vacation time, just working. And it was like, oh, you want to go on vacation? Yeah, pussy.
That's a very Hispanic culture. Yeah. That's a very Hispanic culture.
Oh, you have the shakes after the work we did last night? You're fucking shakes. Like, want to talk to somebody? Yeah.
There's the other one. ¿Puedes o no puedes?
¿Puedes o no puedes?
Yeah, pásalo yo.
No quieres. Alguien más va a venir. Y te va a poner. ¿Estás
And
cansado? You're tired? You want to go on vacation? Fine. Hey, te quiero vacaciones. Okay.
Yeah, and that whole the orgullo hispano that doesn't let you say.
I mean, look. I mean, that's there's a lot of that cultural shit, and also it's just that they have you by the balls. You're a slave.
No, of course.
You're a slave. I mean, you work for the government down there. You'll be replaced. I was a regional subcommander, and I had somewhere in the vicinity of 80 something to 90 people underneath my command at one point in my late 20s, which is fucking like, I would do that and go back home, go back to whatever place I was staying in and play, Grand Theft Auto and eat cornflakes, and I would just be thinking about, why am I the one responsible? And one of the reasons I was promoted to that position was that the people that were there were all arrested on fucking cartel charges. That was one of the reasons why I was promoted. And then I kind of thought back, and when I was promoted to team leader, it was because the 2 dudes that were in front of me got killed. So, like, I was being ushered forward. And
Congrats, you just got a promotion.
Going up in the
last
ranks
guy just
real
died.
quick.
That killed my. Oh, maybe it's because I'm really good.
That does sound like war. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Holy shit.
there's no going back home from that.
Did you feel like it was the most dangerous part in the world? You just feel like another day of fucking work?
Did you even know it? Like,
No, you're. It's like a dream. You don't know you're in a dream until you're out of it, I guess. Is how I.
Yeah.
I had this surreal moment. I stopped working down there. I went through my immigration process, and I was doing a class in Denver, Colorado. It was early on, and I was walking down the street, and I saw a weed dispensary, and I still have the bacon smell on me, the pig smell. I'm still in my cop mindset or work for the government.
Yeah.
That's bad drugs. Shut that off for a bit, and I say, "Hey, can I walk in there?" Oh yeah, sure. Do I need to show any? No, it's recreational. It's fine. I walk in there. There's a old lady, probably in her 60s, with a tray of cookies, rainbow M&M type cookies and shit like that. They're special cookies, and they make you feel funny. So I grab a piece and I eat it, and it makes me feel relaxed and funny. It's great. And I look around me, and nobody's carrying an AK on their back. There's no guy with a ski mask dropping a load there. There's no shadiness around it. There's nobody being violent. You know, the only violent individual in that room is me. The only one that's in defense mode is me. The only one that is thinking that there's something wrong there is me. And that's when I realized that I am completely fucking outside of Oz. You know, I'm not in Kansas anymore. I'm in Oz right now. I walk outside, feel pretty relaxed with my fucking weed cookie.
Of course.
And I start bawling, start crying.
Jeez.
The realization that all the shit I did down there, a lot of it was related to marijuana. A lot of it was related to heroin and methamphetamines and fentanyl, all of it. But a lot of it was related to marijuana. I burned acres of it, like a lot of it. You know, a lot of my friends were killed around cases and situations related to marijuana and marijuana trafficking into the United States. And for a fucking plant that makes you feel funny. That was a moment where I realized the abnormality of my situation for all that time, and how the futility of it. You know, how it was like I had this moment where I just realized that I had to somehow make that experience worth it. So it kind of led me into the whole being a bit more of an activist and advocate for people that down there that are still in the fight that don't have a voice.
Did they ever send you out of Tijuana into any other place?
Yeah. No, I worked the whole state of Baja, and then when I was involved in a few other things, they would send me across all over the country doing specific type of work. There's not a lot of people with conversational English in Mexico working this line of work, so that was a thing that opened up a lot of doors for me. There were commissions and stuff like that where we'd get sent to other places. So I got to see realities in other parts. You know, yeah.
During this whole time, did you ever, like, I mean, you don't have to say if you don't want to, get close to, in your head you were like, this is it, I'm not going home today, or I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it was the generation I came out with, and there's a picture I have. I'll see if I can post it up tonight for guys that are, you know, listening to this. I'll check out my Instagram story, but there's a picture of me during my training, head shaven, my insignia, because I was team leader all the way back then. I was an overachiever even when I was in training, and there's all these blurred out faces behind me of the people that were going through the training with me. They're all dead.
Shit.
They died either in service or going out of it and working for the other side and getting killed somewhere. One of the guys that's towards my left hand in that picture that I'm going to post up was killed by an FN-57 pistol that later on turned out to be one of the Fast and Furious guns. So every day was like, how are they going to get the better of us, basically, and also discovering somebody within our circle that guy turned out to be somebody that we need to worry about, and he knows all this shit, so everybody had to change all of their shit, basically. Mm-hmm. Everybody had to dump their phones. Everybody had to move people around if they had any knowledge, and if you invited him to a party or something personal, now you have to be suspect. It was every day.
So you were more like, when is my time?
I didn't see 30 in my mind.
Oh shit.
In my mind, I thought I was going to go out in some sort of weird situation at some point, and I didn't see 30 in my mind.
Damn, imagine that.
Like a question that I've always had, because all these people that sign up, like, what goes through your mind to decide to actually sign up to be a police officer in Mexico or a politician or whatever? Yeah. Just because you're hated by both sides, and I'm sure the pay's not that great.
Yeah, on my end, I didn't have a choice. I was coming up post 9/11 economy on the border, And people that live in Tijuana and people that live on the border can tell you what happened to the economy down there when 9/11 happened and border restrictions and border waits turned into 3-4 hours. It killed the economy down there. My family had a business down there and it tanked. I was on my second year of medical school, and I couldn't afford to stay on. Meanwhile, I was still going out, with my friends and shit like that. And, I grew up more of a punk rock kid, skateboarding, and the first lock picking exercise I had was to break into a fucking backyard pool and fucking skate it when I was a kid.
Hell yeah.
So that was kind of my background. But we'd go out and just hang out, and I would see some of my friends that are some of the same age group all of a sudden appear back into our lives with money, with cars, with influence. In some of the expensive clubs, as we were outside, just fucking smoking a joint with our skateboard somewhere, and these guys would pass. We're like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on? Like, what do you? ¿A qué se dedica el muchacho? What do you do? Like, who knows? I just work. Like the classic line is, compra y venta de vehículos del extranjero. Like, I buy and sell cars from the U.S., which was a classic line that he's a trafficker or he works for a cartel, So a lot of my friends just went into that line of work. And when it came time to, what I wanted to do, I got offers all throughout. I remember seeing that it was an ad in the newspaper, describing what the process was and vaguely what you were going to do when you got out. And most of my family said, you're not going to be able to go through it. That's not for you. You're too this, you're too unorganized. Look at your fucking hair. But this time I had fucking long hair, fucking just going through some shit,
Like emo. Punk rocker.
Yeah. I had my fucking spike hair. Again, if you want, I'll show you a picture of me.
Absolutely.
I need to see that one. I definitely need to see that one.
Along with a donkey show picture, but that's something.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
But a lot of my family didn't have faith in me as far as going through it, and also my mom, she didn't want me to go into it for obvious reasons. And most of my friends said like, "Fuck, puerco, ¿quieres ser puerco? Placa? No mames." Fucking a police officer.
Wait, they call police officers pigs in Mexico too?
Puerco.
Really?
Yeah, puerco, placa, cuicos. There's a bunch of slang terms. And again, I rode a bunch of municipal police trucks in the back of municipal police trucks, handcuffed for skateboarding in the wrong part. Every now and then. It's fine. So all of a sudden, I was like, yeah, I think I need to do this. See if I can do it.
Yeah.
My whole mindset there was see if I can go through it.
Prove wrong, pretty much.
Yeah. I was like, fuck, prove all these fuckers wrong. Yeah. All of a sudden, I find myself.
We're gonna go live for a little bit.
Sure.
That's a very punk rock thing to do.
All of a sudden, I find myself, completely shaved, and in the middle of this refurbished prison that got turned into a police academy. And
Here, go live.
they were
Get close-ups of him.
they were like, hey, this is more of a, I thought it was going to be like, I don't know, like the closest thing I had as a concept of what this would be was police academy, There's going to be a campus somewhere, and they're going to have us fucking march around and shit like that.
It'll be somebody doing sound effects.
It's gonna be crazy antics
It's gonna be a crazy
going on.
There were crazy antics happening, but it wasn't as wholesome, and we weren't being prepared to fucking, be community policing, basically. The instructors were all members of the GAFE, which are the guys that later on turned into the Zetas.
Holy shit.
So those were the guys that were instructing. So you look at it, it's like, wait, why are we being treated like the military? Like, why are we marching around? Like, why are we salute? What is it? It's paramilitary training. For what? Like, I thought we were going to, and then, it just slowly dawned on me that we're not going to be, running around in a police cruiser stopping people for, parking violations. It was going to be something else.
So you went into it knowing none of that.
I didn't know anything. You know, I didn't have any family members that were in the police force. I was a complete. I like everybody there had their dad was in the military.
Yeah, they had somebody they
Somebody.
knew that
My dad is a pacifist. Like, so I didn't get any of that from him. He's an electrical engineer and a pacifist, so none of that. Most of my family members are dentists or electrical engineers. So, like, I have no fucking clue where I got it from. Probably from my mom, you know. But I was there and I was like, what the hell, you know? And going through it, I found myself discovering shit about my ability to withstand and sustain. And I started discovering shit about me like, oh, I can take the physical abuse and I can take the
Mental.
running and the mental. So maybe I'm where I need to be, you know? It was a slow process to realize that I was where I needed to be at that time, you know? And I think out of all the shit that happened down there, I think that was probably the most rewarding part of it. Just realizing you're where you need to be at that time, you know, and not a lot of people get to say that, you know, I'm where I need to be right now. If I wasn't there, a few of my friends would probably not be here. Something could have been worse. So actually having a say in what happens and having an effect in the environment, you know. Some of the shit that I did had a lasting effect in the environment.
Because you said it got safer, right, after you left?
I mean,
for a while.
Some of the work we did, it took Tijuana off the most dangerous list. But like all good, like all good wars, people forget what it was about. People forget what it took to get that city off the list, and
It's getting back.
it came back.
When you started, how had the president already declared the war on drugs? Not yet.
It was. I was in during the last parts of Vicente Fox. You started seeing rumblings of it. You started seeing a clear split in some of the cartels in the area that I grew up in, like the Arellano Felix cartel. At this point, was starting its weird internal war that later turned into half of the Tijuana cartel joining the Sinaloa cartel and having just a full-on Batman level battle in Tijuana for control of that drug route. But you start seeing inklings of it, and also the overtness of cartels. So when I got out, and one of the first times I patrolled Tijuana, we saw a convoy of probably 18 vehicles with AK-47s in plain view in the middle of the day in Tijuana. And nobody did anything. And I was like, you know, this is what we have to face. But things changed, you know. The Army got involved. We were supported more. We were given the tools, the means, the training. And that shit stopped. They wouldn't fucking go out in broad daylight. They weren't as fucking as brave as they were before. And for a while, things shifted. You know, fear was on their side. But again, all these things lead to periods of, oh, everything's fine now. We don't need you
guys to be doing that.
Yeah,
more. Yep.
you should focus more on community policing. Stop carrying around your rifles.
You're
and
scaring people with your guns.
You're scaring people, and then that led into, again, Tijuana and parts of Baja are going into levels of violence that have not been seen ever there. Jeez. Not even when I was working, right? So, you know, it's disheartening, you know, to see it go back, and also to see some of the people that fought for it. You know, I'm not even talking about myself. You know, some people like Lieutenant Colonel Lizaola, one of the guys that would lead us during some of the worst parts of that conflict. He had multiple attempts on his life. I think 9 or 10 or something like that. They tried to poison his juice boxes that he would get put into a fridge in his office. Was one of the attempts on his life, right?
Fuck.
They had a cloned military convoy try to set up a roadblock to stop him and try and get at him. So it was insanity. The last time they tried to kill him, he lost the use of his legs. He became paralyzed. He's been trying to run for the mayor office in Tijuana for the past 4 or 5 years. And this last election, they basically charged him with a bunch of torture charges and blocked him from
Just a
running.
bunch of bullshit, pretty much.
It's a bunch of bullshit. There's so much bullshit that they dropped him at the end, and he did run, but he didn't win. You know?
Yeah, the damage was done.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
And that's the thing in Mexico. There's always angles. Everybody has an angle. Right now, what you see in Mexico is a leftist president that has an open friendship with the Sinaloa cartel. That's what you see, and that's what we have, right? And when I was active, there was some sort of weird talk and little alliances as well, you know. I know enough about it now. Hindsight is 20/20, but I know enough about it now that I know there was no good guys or bad guys down there during the time I was active. It was just us surviving. That was it.
So you get out, you get across the, you get into the U.S. How do you? I mean, it's not like you're rolling around with security. Like, how do you stay safe?
I don't.
Are they not worried about you anymore? Like,
I mean, one main thing is I don't talk about anything that isn't known, right? I'm not revealing any state secrets or talking about personal matters of some cartel head somewhere. I'm talking about things that are widely known,
Everybody knows.
and also widely known in certain spheres, but isn't known up here. So on that side, I'm good. I did a lot of work, but it was just work. I didn't get rich off it. I would never got in bed or was never paid or bribed by anybody. Never got into the pocket of anybody, so I owe nothing to anybody. So if they're going to come after me, it's going to be because of just pure hatred of something, and it's not going to be because I owe anything. If they're going to make the effort.
oh yeah.
And also, I travel across this country, and people know where I am sometimes, and I'm good with that. I have nothing. I don't know anything. So if they come, they're going to come at me for completely reasons outside of my control.
Because you've done classes in Mexico too, right?
Yeah, I still do them.
Those are the ones that I'm like, how?
I have people there watching my back sometimes, and it's who would I be showing this type of stuff where I'm from if I don't go back down there and show this type of stuff?
Yeah, of course.
Because
they're the ones.
I'm not saying that I'm never gonna get caught. There was a counter custody instructor from the U.S. that went down there to Mexico and did a class down there, and he was abducted after the class, and he was never found. We and when I heard about that,
didn't work.
well, it's not that it didn't work.
Jeez, dude.
It's not that it didn't work, but it's what does he know about the problem?
Yeah.
If I go to
He's going off the news.
Yeah, if I go to Kentucky trying to show them how to make whiskey, what do I know about whiskey? What I mean by that is, who am I to talk about these things if I don't put on a class during a riot in Atlanta? If I don't take my free time to go to Portland to see what that is like firsthand, to then go and show people from law enforcement, military, private sector, and civilians how to survive a situation like that. And it's not that I'm suicidal or fucking just risking everything. It's that I am.
I thought you were when I fucking seen you walking behind that big ass fucking mob of people. I'm like, holy fuck.
I know some karate,
Calculator.
That wasn't as risky. I've done riskier shit.
No, you know how to blend in too, though. Like that's the thing that I've noticed.
He really does.
The first time we met you was at Blade Show.
Yeah.
You walked right past our table, and I think you had been on Joe Rogan like not long before that, and so I'm like, oh man, this dude's fucking crazy. He's gonna be at Blade Show. So I was looking to see you. You walked right past our table, and you were turning the corner before I was like, oh fuck, there he is.
Yeah.
He actually went, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I did a lot like that. Not the hands weren't quite as wild, but it was similar.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do for classes or just that I express and show people, they freak out whether it's like, but you carry this every day, or you do this every day, or whenever you travel, you figure out this shit. Yeah. Why? I did that for 12 years every single day, 24/7. Even when I was sleeping, I was working in a way, you know.
And so your page is called as Manifesto because you used to write all this shit down, right?
The first time I went to
Ed's
court,
diary didn't have quite the same.
Manifesto sounds way better.
the first time I went to California to do some training with some former members of NSW and some NCIS people. We did this whole they did this whole counterterrorism training for us, right? And part of it was they wanted to see how we would plan a route to move some high value individual across an area and what threat perception we had as far as how we would hit somebody like that, right? They were worried about IEDs. They were worried about the Taliban. Some of them were coming off Karzai's protection detail.
So the movie Sicario, that's pretty accurate.
The only thing they got right is that I like MP5s and blue shirts. You know, the movie's not about me, by the way. But you know, there's some shit. You know, it's fine. But they realized that our perspective was completely different. We were looking at different shit, and I did this route analysis that they was like, okay, why are you paying attention to this? Well, where I'm from, camouflage is urban in nature, and if I want to get close to an armored vehicle, I would probably get a vehicle that isn't out of place. So when I did my route analysis, I was looking for where I can get access to work trucks or heavy trucks that I could use to push something out of the way or to block something. And also I was looking at traffic patterns and places where I could get access to a large load-bearing truck that I could put across a freeway to stop something and set it on fire. They were like, what the fuck? You know? And I was writing all of this down in a Moleskine notebook. And at the end, like, hey, Ed, can we gain access to your manifesto that you're writing? And that led into just me showing them my notebook, and then this whole joke about what are you writing in your little manifesto. Another thing that happened in that training event is that I took a video of the route, but I didn't realize that there was a bug on the lens. So all throughout my route analysis, there was this beetle on the lens. So everybody said it looked like an Ed Wood movie. So that led into the whole nickname Ed, right? So and one of my first online names was Ed Wood. So yeah, that kind of led into the origin of that. So that came from just the notes that I would take in some of these classes. And they was like, he's writing his manifesto, right? His fucking terrorist manifesto thing. But now, and just as far as meaning goes, I think it's more of a manifesting things. Actually manifesting. I mean, if you're not armed, you can manifest a weapon. You know, it's not a cult. It's not esoteric. It's manifesting what you need. It's about having a clear understanding or a purpose and writing it down for yourself and being true to what you're about. So when I started that page on Tumblr, out of all places, was where I started.
Awesome.
I started posting things about just fieldcraft stuff that I kind of learned, things that I would see, snapshots of me working, and that just led into this weird, trail that eventually got me, here.
I mean, the thing that I've noticed is that you just people don't pick up on the things that you do, but the way when you explain them, it's like, oh shit, that makes perfect sense. It's obvious once you see it, but seeing it is like the hard part.
Yeah, we like to talk about 3 fights, or pugnas. The first fight is always that: why would I take this training? Why would I need a gun? Why do I need a knife? Why do I need a bag for me and my children in case some emergency happens? That's the first fight most people have. Like, why would I need that? And most of the people that talk shit about me, most of the people that critique me or that are like, really I have a lot of haters out there, which is great. Fuels me, you know.
There's a fine line between love and hate. So if they can hate you, they can.
I mean, there's you know, I have a Reddit and shit like that. It's fine, but you get to a point where you realize that, you know, that you know, all that negativity and shit like that. It's because I'm saying something that they don't know. It's an insecurity, you know, and it's fine to have insecurities, dude. I walked through this shop, you know, and I saw a dude, you know, sharpening knives. He was pretty good at it, you know, and I saw a press for Kydex, which I can't reveal the details of because it's fucking
Thank
top
you for
secret.
that. Yes.
But it is, I saw that press and I saw it, and I've worked with Kydex before, and I saw it and I was like, motherfuckers. Solved all of my issues that I had, you know? And there's no insecurity there. The first, what did I say when I saw that? I was like, that's fucking great. I never fucking thought about that, right? That's fucking amazing. A lot of people fight themselves because it's an ego thing. It's a fear thing. You know, people fear what they don't know. And usually people react in different ways to that fear. Critique it, say it sucks, say it isn't real, try and look through its faults because you don't understand it. So it's better. That's a good way to killing it, you know, avoiding it and ignoring it, you know. And every now and then you get crazy fuckers that say, well, I don't know what's behind that door, but let's see what that is, you know. The first fight, that's always the first fight, you know. Is it worth it? Do I need this? Should I know this? Should I get a gun? Should I buy a knife? Should I get this weird training that I'm never going to use maybe, or hopefully, you know? That's the first fight. The second one is actually going through the experience. And the third one is what happens after. What we like to call the afterlife, you know? The afterlife isn't all about just fucking dying, going to heaven or hell, whatever you believe. The afterlife is, you know, me. I'm going through the afterlife right now. I didn't know what PTSD was down there. The word was never taught to us, and it was never said or spoken about. I didn't know what TBI was, or what some of the you know, the symptoms are of that, and how people come back from an experience like that, and how they have to. It's not about getting better; it's about learning how to live with it, you know, and just having that fucking bucket of ice dumped on you. So usually people fall on some of these three fights are what usually fucking people never get past that first one sometimes. And you know, if you carry a pocket knife, you're in the vast minority of the population. If you own a firearm, you're in the vast minority of the population of this planet as far as people that are self-responsible for that. If you know how to start a fire without fucking matches, you're in the vast minority of the population in the world. You are the minority. People need to kind of think about that.